Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're back with an opinion video, and this one is kind of like an A-B series, but I'm going to start just basically by saying the prompt, and is instant photography as a whole important to film photography? And don't get me wrong, I do know instant photography is film photography, but like when one, at least me, thinks of film photography, I think of 35mm cameras, medium format cameras, large format cameras, stuff like that. I don't always refer to Polaroids, Instax, or stuff like that. I kind of have that kind of like an island inside the analog photography world. But the thing is film photography, roll photography, like I said, the emulsion film, Kodak Ilford photography, the island of instant film, or vice versa. And let me explain first. There's a couple of things that go through my mind when I think about this. First of all, I run a YouTube channel. I have videos that I put out. Some are simple, some are complicated, some are opinions, some are not. And the best and most successful by far are the Instax how-to videos. What that shows me is either I'm really bad at the normal film photography stuff, or there's a huge market for Instax. And then when we talk about Instax photography, we have Fujifilm. Fujifilm has been dwindling down from 35 and sheet film and slide film to basically Instax only. But Instax photography has been the bestseller item, for example, for Amazon in the Christmas and the holidays and so on for years. And it is still at the 14th, if I'm not mistaken, top products on Amazon sold. In the photography realm, if you go to Amazon bestsellers, I'm referring to Amazon not because I'm affiliated to them or I love them in any way, it's just they have the list there. It's the number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4 and number 5 and number 6 of the top selling film equipment and stuff in like the consumables. And that is just Instax. These cameras are not made for me or people like me that are into Hasselblads and Plaubels and stuff. Mostly they're made for people that want a simple camera that will nail focus, that will nail exposure, that will have a flash if there's not enough light, and it has no functions. That we've all complained for years. Please bring in an Instax that has more tools, but if you've noticed, they've been dumbing down the cameras because probably the user base has been people that don't have so much knowledge about photography, that just want to take a picture and want to have a memory of whatever they're taking. And that's where we forget how big, how massive this is. And film photography, like Instax, is still basically sensitive to x-rays, to light leaks and stuff like that, which is giving people the right principles about what film photography means. Then we go to people like Polaroid. They started as the Impossible Project, saving the last factory, manufacturing new film for the SX70, the 600 series, the Spectra, like the one I have here. This one's dead now. They killed it for Polaroid Go. But they have been supporting legacy cameras, and they have actually introduced a new line of cameras of their own, the I-type cameras, basically the ones that have built-in batteries that are not using the batteries inside the film, and now have like less theoretically problems for pollution with more batteries and the cartridges being thrown all the time. But they've continued to support this, and they're selling probably hundreds of thousands a year of these cartridges. And they non-stop, color, black and white. And they're still emulsing, making emulsions, because basically instant photography has a negative and has basically like a receiver, like a positive, and it has the pod with the chemicals, and the chemicals are basically developing chemicals for color negative film. I'm guessing it's color negative film. I might be very wrong there. I'm not an expert on the chemicals that go inside a pod for instant photography, but they're still doing this. And actually, as far as I know, Polaroid is actually running the factory that's called Nicosphotographyshow, which is actually also producing sometimes some of the runs for Orwo. So it's kind of like a bit of a confusing world there. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but yeah, they're making stuff. They're making film, but for Polaroid. And they have made new hardware, like I said, new cameras that shoot new formats with lenses and focus and Bluetooth and all these functions that are new to 2021 or 2020 or 2022 or 2023 or the future, which is a huge deal. We're fighting here to see a new 35mm compact camera, maybe a new X-Band, or maybe Pentax is back, or maybe Hasselblad will be back. What if we brought back Mamiya? Like, we would be so excited. But Polaroid makes something. It's a big deal, but it's not the same deal, because we kind of take it as it's like an island of the film photography, but I think it's not. And then we go with things like the Fp100C, which was killed, and then like SuperSense is reviving it with one instant, but that is kind of like a very, 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 very small drop in the ocean of instant photography. So we have Instax and we have Polaroid, and those are huge players in what they're doing with film photography. And then we have the hardware, and this is where it gets to me very interesting. Like I said, Polaroid has made their own cameras. Instax makes their own cameras with their own shutters, with their syncing with the flash and so on, apertures and Bluetooth settings and blah, blah, blah. They're making new things, which means they have the teams that can create a camera, a film camera. And then we have players like Retrospect. Retrospect is in the US, is refurbishing SX70s. They're making their own versions of them and like refurbishing them and putting them like a little time control on top and all this stuff. Or I think they're doing that. I might be mistaken. But they have a whole operation. I visited them like a year and a half ago. It's amazing what they're doing. But they're basically also the official Polaroid partner to be able to have the license for the molds. So they're remolding Polaroid 600 with Hello Kitty ones and yellow ones, a special edition this and special edition that, which is a huge deal. Like the molding, the technology that goes into learning how to do molds and to do all these parts and the things inside the Polaroid is basically all going towards film photography, learning how to make a camera, learning how to redo and fix a camera, which is what I do here at work in Finland. But these guys are doing it at the very much the same scale or even similar or bigger for Polaroid cameras. But we often forget about them because it's instant photography, at least I do. And then we have people that are making new hardware. And we're talking, for example, Mint. Mint Cameras is based in Hong Kong, if I'm not mistaken. And they came out by doing SX70 like tune-ups, like same, changing the front plate with a, I guess, a controller that could let you do manual exposure, manual settings, and so on, which is a huge deal, bringing back SX70s. And then they brought out of the blue, without a Kickstarter, without an Indiegogo, without a crowdfunding of any kind, they brought out the TL70, a Rolleiflex TLR style camera that shoots Instax Mini. We're talking new shutter, new lenses, new mechanism to like all of this, new Fresnel, new ground glass, new everything, like meter, everything is made by them in-house. A new camera, a new film camera. If Rolleiflex tomorrow came out of the dead and made a new camera, every single medium, every single YouTuber would fall on their butts and basically go, oh my God, a new Rolleiflex in 2023, it would be everywhere. But Mint did it, it's instant, not that big of a deal. Then they came out with the RF70. I saw the first prototype in Photokina 2018. This is basically a Fuji GF670, for those who know cameras, basically like a 6x7 with a folding bellows lens that shoots Instax wide film. So it has a shutter, central copal, like a central shutter, like a leaf shutter, like a copal shutter, which is completely dead. But this is made by them. That has sync speeds at all speeds with a flash built in, but also a PC port, or some similar to a PC port. I'm not sure if a 3.5 jack or not. It has their own lens, it has their own light meter, it has its own rangefinder for medium format, so it has a rangefinder patch and a rangefinder system. It basically is a mix of like a Plowbill and a GF670, but it shoots Instax wide, so not that big of a deal, right? But what happened if Fuji suddenly launched the GF670 again? If it reintroduced it at $2,500, everybody wouldn't go nuts for that. But Mint made it in Instax, and it's not that big deal. And I was there at Photokina telling them, interviewing them, telling them, this is a huge deal. You just have to put a roll of 120 if you made a camera again, like a film camera for roll cameras, which to me is a big deal. The Instax one doesn't look like that big of a deal. And then they made that in Instax Square. So these people have developed the technology to make film cameras with a central shutter, with their own lenses, with meter, with flash, with advancing and expulsion and all the gears that go into instant photography, because there's a physical thing coming out of the camera. And now they're working on a 35mm camera, which, please, I think you should support this. Like, that's a huge deal. And I'll make a whole video about Mint. I want to talk about them a lot more. But to me, is like, we don't realize from the film photography, the roll photography, how important, how the instant photography is supporting us. Because, like I said, hardware might end up translating to cameras that we can shoot 120 film or 35mm film or large format film, who knows. And then everybody that's getting into this instant photography, which is usually much younger and more experimental, they're used to shooting film that's like $1 a shot and it's okay-ish for most, maybe more even if you're shooting Polaroid. But out of those 100 people that buy those cameras, they're getting used to shooting something tactile that they can put in the fridge. They can send a postcard that there's one of only, there's no more. If you want to, you know, have it for memory, you maybe have to scan it or something like that. And those people are maybe ending up with a Canon A1, Pentax K1000, a point and shoot, a Hasselblad, maybe a Mamiya 7 because they're used to the RF70 from Mint and they're like, man, this in 120 would be sweet. Buy Mamiya 7, supporting the Kodaks and Ilfords and Adoxes of the world. And to me, that's what's really important. And I think we've often, at least I do, forget how important the instant photography is to the whole film photography. And like I said, I might think that as much as we don't realize, instant photography is the main, and film photography as roll photography, like 35 and 120 in large format, is the island that's kind of living off that. And that is something I would love to know. I would love to know your opinion. I would love to know what you think about this, because it's something I think about all the time. Like, we are, you know, repairing and seeing and talking about Hasselblads and Mamiyas and Pentaxes and, you know, Leicas and all this stuff. And, oh, a Leica's expensive for $5,000, blah, blah, blah. But like, if we were to try to make this again and we had no players, we're talking starting from scratch. But if someone that has already made pretty much 80% of what could be a Mamiya 7, why is that not happening yet? How would we support it? How much we would support it for? I'll remind you, the RF70, if I'm not mistaken, is around the 1,000 something mark. We're talking a full camera that could shoot basically 120 film for around less than 2,000, that's for sure. So let that sink in. Yes, the glass is not probably as good as a Mamiya glass and, you know, all these things, but would you buy something like the Mint RF70 if it shot 120 film and it wasn't as sharp as Mamiya, but, you know, it was decent for less than $2,000? I would buy it for sure. Absolutely for sure. Maybe I would do small prints. Maybe, like, I sold all the Mamiya. I've owned the Mamiya 7 3 times. I sold it 3 times. Why? Every time I shoot it, I'm impressed how sharp it is. I'm impressed about everything. But I'm like, I can't make this thing like be like, it's too good for what I need it to do. And I sell it because it's too much money. They're $5,000 now, $4,000 now. But Mint could do this. And I think we can't forget about the instant photography market. We can't forget to support them. We can't forget to like include them. We can't forget to encourage them to maybe sometimes try film photography, or the other way down, us try instant photography. But yeah, that's the ramble of today. I would love to hear your opinion. Like I said, I'll leave the link below to Patreon or donations if you feel like helping and supporting the channel to making more brain farts like these. It is much supported and enjoyed and, you know, helpful. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.